Good morning. We're continuing our modifications on the ZX10R. The next step is to remove the emissions. I'm going to start off with the canister. So let's jump right into it. The good news is we're not even going to have to install anything else on the side. So we're going to remove this solenoid here, the canister, the bracket, this bracket, and we're going to go from there. So let's get started. All right, first thing I'm going to do is disconnect this right here. Go ahead and unplug that. All right, so that's unplugged. And then the next item is going to be just taking the canister off the bracket. And then we're going to disconnect this hose here, which is a breather hose that goes to the bottom of the tank on the right side. We're going to keep that in place and reroute this hose right here that goes into the breather on the fuel tank. We're going to reroute it somewhere to kind of keep the fumes from coming up on top. Now I'm going to set you up for the other side. We're going to disconnect some stuff there. Hang on, I'll be right back. Now we're on the left side of the bike. First thing I want to do is just look at this hose here. This hose right here that goes on the inside of this routes to the first throttle body. On the front there is a breather hose, and this breather hose connects to it. All right, so there's a breather hose connection on the front left first throttle body, and if you remember, we capped that off. So now we're just going to remove the hose, or at least remove the routing of the hose here. I'm going to route this back through here, like so. Get that out of the way. Okay. All right, so that is good. And then we are going to disconnect the this must be a fuse right here. So I'm not going to disconnect that right now. We're going to leave that. I think I can feed it through here once we get this removed. But as far as anything else being connected to it, it's pretty much disconnected. I'm going to keep this hose on too. I want to try to keep everything connected to the parts that I'm moving off so I don't have to worry about it. So what I'd like to do is remove this solenoid right here, which is for the actuator and the flapper valve chamber. So this is no longer needed, so I'm going to take it off. And we disconnected that earlier when we were taking the front nose off. So again, I'm just going to leave that connected there. I'm going to put the nut back onto the solenoid and we'll be in good shape. That was kind of loose to start off with. All right, so now that we got that done, let's go ahead and disconnect the cluster and the shift lamp. Okay, we're in the shop, so we'll go ahead and disconnect that shift lamp. See if I can get a little slack here on that. All right. Okay, there's a little clip in here. All right, so that's disconnected. Now we're going to take this rubber shield off the cluster. Okay. We'll push that pin down and plug the cluster. All right, we're in good shape. Now I think the only thing that's left for me to take this out is to I'm going to have to remove the chamber here, and I may have to remove these hoses. So let me go ahead and take the hoses off. Off. Get this one off. Okay, that one's off. I'm going to leave that there for just a moment. So this hose goes in the bottom. Let me hang on to that here. I'm going to set that hose right here. So this hose goes in the bottom. I'm going to set that right there for now. Okay, this one goes in the top. Okay, I'm going to leave that connected. We'll get a rag for the. It looks like, yeah, it looks like we can take that off. There's right here, this was on top, and this one was on the bottom. Okay, all right, we're going to leave that connected. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to take this bolt off and this bolt off. This will remove this here and give me access to the air intake. All right. Here we go. By the way, this is the last performance mod, besides putting the battery in and the flash ECU. So before I go any further, after doing this, I'm going to put the tank on, the battery on, the ECU in, and then we're going to go from there. Okay, so that is done. Now this is removed. Cool. All right. So we're going to keep that together. And then this cluster stays with it. All right. And then we are going to set this off to the side. And then we'll put the actuator back together. on this hose when we're done. Okay, let's set this off to the side. All right, we're going to take a quick minute break. I get my tools together so that we can take this off and then take it apart. Stand by. All right, we're back. So I just wanted to give you a quick look at what we're going to take apart next. Okay, so we're going to take these two bolts off here, these two bolts off here, and then there's two on the other side. I'll give you a quick look at that. You can see the two bolts there. There's nothing else connected, but the purpose of taking this air intake off is that we're going to remove this, and we're going to remove that stem rod there that goes all the way through, holds the flapper in, and then we're going to block it off. So let me get you set up on the stand, and we'll go from there. There's those 4 bolts. Still got a little bit of Loctite on it, so I think we're in good shape there. All right, now let's remove it. Make sure we're in the shot. We're in the shot. Looks like all we got to do is just kind of slide it out, and there you go. And there's the flapper. There is the flapper right there. So now I'm going to set you up on the workbench. We're going to take this thing apart, take this out, and then put the plug in. So stand by. And we're back. First thing we're going to do is take off this rubber gasket that's kind of clipped in there. And then we'll take the vent screen off. And I do plan on putting this back on. Some folks just leave it off. All right, so that takes care of that. And then on the left side, okay, on the left side as it's installed, right, you'll see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, 6 Phillips head screws. So I'm going to remove those so that we can split it apart. Take this out. Take the flapper out. This flapper here, and then reassemble and put the plug in. So let me start on this right here. So the one thing that I want to do is it's split here on the little foam gasket, but it's not split here. So I don't want to break that seal. So what I'm going to do is just carefully split it apart from this angle and the bottom. All right, and then we're going to take out the actuator and the flapper, and there you go. That's it. It's done. All right, and you see we've got a gasket in there, so that's another reason why I didn't want to take this completely apart. So make sure that gasket gets back in there. Okay. And then I think that'll do it right there. So we're going to put these screws back in. here's the plug, and you see it's almost like it turns into place here. So we're just gonna see if we can pop that in. Probably would have been easier to do it with it apart, but there you go. We got a really good seal, and it's nice and round on the bottom. Arrows are pointing straight forward and back. That one's in. So I'm going to put you on pause because I want to see if I can cap these off. Stand by. All right, I went through my doodad drawer there, and I found these two plugs. And they're pretty straightforward here. You can see where I plugged it in here. Now, this thing is totally blocked off. No air can get in unless it comes through the front. So let me go ahead and put this rubber seal back on, and then we'll get to installing it. So I'll go and put this right here like that. That's the top. And then this is the outside. And slide that baby back on. All right, there you go. It's all assembled and sealed. Everything is tight. And then here is the flapper with the actuator. Got a bug right there. But there you go, that's out, along with the solenoid and the chamber. So let me set you up for the next step. Stand by, I'll be right back. All right, we're ready to reinstall the air intake duct. So you can see I got my plugs here. Got a plug here. And if I cover this back hole, you can see you don't see any light anywhere other than the back. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this on here, and then put those 4 bolts in place. And you really can't get this wrong because the actuator is on top and the plug should be on the top. So let's go ahead and reinstall these 4 bolts right here. Okay. Put the stay bracket on, the one that holds, the front nose of the fairing, the cluster, and all that good stuff. Pop that in. Of course, I saved the 3 bolts and the washers that came with it. And the black bolt here is the one that held the chamber. And the chamber is that cylindrical item that was on top, connected to the actuator right here. So we'll just go ahead and mount that right here like so. Everything's in place. All right, so now we'll go ahead and reconnect the cluster and put the little boot back on. Make sure we get that in straight. Okay. Put that little booty on there. sure it's seated. All right, and we'll get the shift lamp connected. There we go. Okay, looks like we got everything we need to do connected. I think the next thing is the tank, the ECU, and then the battery. So stand by while I set up for that.